Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Aging and Spirituality podcast, where we talk about living a fulfilled life after the age of 60. I'm Kathy Lee Taylor, and your co host is
Chris Jensen.
my best bud. We're so
Yeah,
happy to be back with you here.
we sure are. It is so much fun. We love sharing, and we hope it's helpful for you guys.
Yes, no question. And we're just going over what we have been wanting to talk about today. And it's a subject that I think keeps coming up in a way that we know women are moving into a new era in the world of how they act, interact with other people, how they make a living, how they express their souls in the world. And, there's so many distractions in the world today, and most of them are based in fear. And that creates kind of an exhaustion that comes from living disconnected, literally, from your own inner nature, right? And this is Chris and I's alley, right? This is what we love to talk about is getting up every day and being connected to that inner self, because that is inevitably what will keep you on the path to happiness, joy, peace, all those things that don't come easily if you don't focus on them. You have to stay connected to your soul to bring that expression in
Mm.
every day.
Yep.
And it's very difficult to do right now, right?
Hmm.
Because of all the stuff that is going on in the world. And for women, for a lot of women that have been surviving inside of a patriarchal system for a lot of years, they had to override that part of themselves. They had to act like men to really be able to fit in. I know I felt like that when I was working in the corporate world. I felt I had to compete like a man. I had to work like a man. I had to be productive like a man. Thinking about being feminine never really was part of the picture, you know?
I'm going to say something here.
Oh,
So I
please.
have a view of all this as someone who was a feminist and fought for women's rights. And
Yes.
I never saw being free of the stereotypes as being like a man. I saw it as not being limited. And
Interesting.
there's a big difference there, you know.
Okay, explain to me what do you mean by being free of stereotypes?
Well, the stereotypes of women being passive,
Oh,
not being productive, not being successful, all of those stereotypes where,
okay.
we there were limitations. And uh, I remember one of my last jobs in the corporate world, and the my boss, the executive director, she said, "Well, women our age, we've always had to be twice as good to be successful."
And
And
you're like, what?
yeah, and I mean, I think that, I think that what you're saying is how most people had separated it, but how it was with a lot of us who were fighting for the freedom to do whatever we want. It was never that we wanted to be like men. It was just we wanted to be free to not have a stereotype put on us that we had to behave in a certain way that did not necessarily fit.
And
So
when you were in a corporate environment, did you feel like you had to compete with men? Did you had to be like them to be able to get another higher position or do whatever it was in the
I,
corporate
I
world at
never
that
I
time?
never felt like I was necessarily having to be like a man. I felt like I needed to be as good as I could be. You know,
Gotcha.
I needed to really put out, which I always did in all of my jobs. I mean,
Right.
I did I did the best I could. I always grew up with a work ethic that you do the job. And but I never felt like I had to be like a man or that was being like a man. I just felt like I was probably better than most of the men I worked with at what I did. Yeah.
That, ladies, is coming from the Gloria Steinem era. I mean, that's exactly, how she talks, exactly like that's exactly how you operate in the world. You don't have to worry about what they're doing, just be you and be the best of it.
Yeah. So that's, yeah, and I was from that era. So, but that's I just wanted to throw that in because
No, I love that. I love that. I'm sure that's exactly how you played in the corporate world. I was, on the other hand, somebody who felt like I had to compete
mm,
to get ahead. I think I did take on masculine qualities that weren't necessarily my true nature. So I think it was more on myself, pushing myself harder,
yeah,
working more than I should, not doing the things that I needed to do to take care of myself, but always putting the job first, getting ahead first, that kind of stuff. I think I bought into that. So so getting back to women and how, we can be in these environments, but still there's a part of us that is craving our softness and our depth and our feminine is a slowness and a beauty and an honesty that we want to prioritize and bring into our lives. And we can very much do that. I think in this quote unquote, I'm calling the new era,
mm,
more women are aware of their need to do that and are figuring out how to have that in their lives while they're making a living, while they're raising children, doing all the things that, women have done for a very long time. So for some women hear the word feminine and they immediately think of stereotypes that are outdated roles or social expectations that really felt limiting, like you were just saying. And for generations, femininity was often presented as something that's performative, right? Something that was attached to people that were pleasers or they were accommodating. Women were the people that sacrificed. They smiled through discomfort, without making a big deal out of it,
mhm,
right?
mhm,
Um, and we kind of made ourselves easy for the world to digest, like we were too much or too big or something, right?
yeah,
We've always had a sense of who we are, but that's not the kind of femininity that, we're talking about today. We're really emerging into a time right now where femininity has much more to do with truth than it does with performance, with the honesty of being who we are, with the what we talk about, the expression of the inner self, and making sure that that shows up in your job and in your life and in your relationships and in everywhere, so it's less about appearance and really more about relationship. And those relationships can be with your body or with your intuition
mhm,
or with your emotional life and your own energy and the pace at which you work and with your inner knowing about who you are and what your purpose is and how you're going to lead that kind of purpose-led life. And you know, some women are really rediscovering that softness and power that were never really opposites, as you've already pointed out. Some of the strongest women I've ever met are are softer, and they became softer as they healed. Not became harder, not became better fighters,
yeah,
became softer, but inside their strength was able to shine through.
yeah,
And I wish that was something we understood, more naturally how to do that. And I think in this new era, women are really starting to say it's okay to be that way.
yeah,
Many of us learned the hardness because it protected us in a really tough and competitive environment. You know, we be I'm going to say I put we, but I think in this case I'm going to say me. I became really super efficient and hyper independent, and I became emotionally guarded, but I was always capable of doing the job, of
mhm,
surviving, of developing strategies to get ahead. But what that cost me, and we were talking about this a little earlier, what some of the things that I had been raised to believe I'm learning were not true. What that cost me was things like intimacy, like connection in relationships, the inability to rest. having heart failure at 35 because I stressed my body out so bad. And creativity, there probably could have been a lot of years in there where I could have been, I don't know, maybe painting on the weekends or whatever it is, right?
Probably.
Singing on the weekends or whatever. I mean, my life wasn't totally devoid of that, but it could have been a lot more balanced, I think. And there comes a season, when the soul simply gets tired of being in the armor, tired of that constant self-protection and really it's exhausting, and you start wanting to soften that and starting to want to invite that more feminine creative energy back into your lives. And I think a lot of women now are really reevaluating the way they move through life. That old model of endless productivity is breaking down for a lot of girls. Um, you can see it culturally too, I think. People feel overstimulated, overworked, emotionally flooded, constantly consuming information on social media, the internet, but they're feeling deeply disconnected because, well, for one thing, we have more people that say they feel lonely than we've ever had before on the planet.
Yeah. Yeah.
They feel lonely,
Hmm.
gazillions of people, and they can't connect. And you wonder why. And then you walk into a restaurant and you go to have a meal and you realize nobody's talking to each other at the tables. They're looking at their damn phones. They, they don't even stop long enough to have a meal and converse with each other.
Oh, yeah.
Oh man, it's so crazy. It is a crazy, crazy world. I hope that changes soon because we need to get back to that, just enjoying each other's companies, looking in each other's eyes and really having a decent
Well, okay.
conversation,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
It's such a joy to be able to connect with people that way now. So, um, in talking about the feminine way, it's not about how much can I produce, it's more about how deeply can I live. And I think about it as what value can I add to the world in terms of what is it about my spirit that wants to express my nature, that wants to express that just delivers completely different orientation to life and helps others see things differently and experience things differently. Those are feminine values. That's what we're talking about when we're talking about presence, right? It's she values emotional truth and intuition and receptivity and sensuality. And again, connection, cycles, rest, beauty, meaning. All of those things are feminine principles that we could really, really benefit from right now. And I know I hear some people hear those qualities and they dismiss them as they're impractical. But honestly, I again would say I think our world is starving for them. I think they're just so valuable. We need them so much. Like what happens to a society when it loses touch with feeling,
Mm.
when it loses touch with our humanity? I don't know. Are we seeing the results of that now? Are we seeing some of the things that happen when that happens in the world?
Happens. Yeah.
Instead of us reflecting and responding to each other with compassion
In love.
and in love and instead of having relaxed bodies that are joyful and out in the world just feeling the beauty of nature and being together and the celebration of life in itself and not the stress, we're seeing so much hate and division in the world right now, and that's coming from very stressed out beings
Hmm.
focusing on other than the beauty
Hmm.
and the feminine aspects of the world. So who cares what you call it, feminine, masculine? I don't care. If a tree's masculine to you, go hug it. You know,
Yeah. Yeah.
Instead of being a robot or being mechanical, do something that is kind and connective
Yes.
and makes you feel good about yourself and about the world. Many women can feel that something essential has really gone missing.
Hmm.
And I feel like we're hitting a tipping point where, we don't want to look away any longer. Like we almost can't. It's like we better start paying attention to the quality of our living, the quality of our relationships, the quality of who we are in the presence of others, or this is going to go on forever.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, this is going to keep happening to us, folks. We need to learn and express and teach and connect with each other in an entirely different way. And so, if the idea of how to be feminine gets you there, more power to it, whatever works for you. But I think, we're being clear here about what it is that it means to connect with other people. That's the important part. Keeping your heart open, having this synchronicity in life where you feel like you don't know what's coming around the next corner, right?
Mm-hmm.
You're like curious. You're like, oh, something magical could happen any minute. When's the last time you felt like that? Like, we were talking about, she's laughing because I said I was feeling that for the first time like yesterday. I had an experience of something from my childhood and I was working through it. And then I went for a walk and felt like for the first time that my heart was really open in a way. And I had this interesting conversation with some dude walking around with a dog. I stopped to pet the dog and we had this fun talk.
Mm-hmm.
I thought, you know what? That's how we're meant to live.
Yeah.
That's how we're meant to live, not cut off from each other all the
It's
time.
good to be connective and sensing that presence within everyone, you know?
Within everyone because they feel it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, just as an example, this guy was walking by and you could tell he was, enjoying his dog and enjoying his walk. But by the time we had a chat, he was smiling big by the time we got done talking, and I told him, never give up on your dream, he was an illustrator and he had been working with comics and he wanted to start his own thing, and I said, oh, that's, told him a little bit about being an entrepreneur, which I've done my whole life. And by the time we were done, we were both smiling big. And the dog was just like, oh, this is good. You know how dogs are. They're like, oh, I brought these people together. It was so cute. Anyway, that's the kind of interaction that is fulfilling. So next time you go on a walk, look for somebody with a t-shirt you can comment on or a dog that's so cute you want to pet.
Yeah, you never know what's going to happen. I had to take my car to the car wash because it was disgustingly filthy. And a month or so ago, I had a blowout on the freeway and I drove it.
Oh God, yeah.
Yeah, I had to drive pretty far so I could get to a safe place. So there's all this black rubber stuff. My car is like off-white. And so there's all this black stuff. Like,
All on your car.
yeah, so I went to the car wash and I asked the guy. There was a guy at this particular car wash that I've known for many years, and they've had a lot of problems because there've been a lot of raids of car washes and stuff like that,
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah, yeah.
Didn't know
So
that.
and so anyway, this guy's been there forever. He's kind of like the manager of the place. And so he was, and I said, can you get that off? And at first he said, well, it has to be waxed or details, and that's going to cost all this, and it's going to take a couple hours. And I said, well, I can't really do that. And so then when no one was looking, he leaned over to me and he said, give me $10 and I'll get it off with some solvent. And it was awesome. He got it off, and I gave him, he was so happy,
Yeah.
He said, I saved you all this money. I said, you sure did. Thank you. It was like there was a connection, I mean,
Yeah.
it was just, a car wash. Like you
Yeah.
just never know.
Except I'm sure you probably were nice to him a lot longer before all of this went down, but that's what happens. People help each other out.
Yeah, yeah,
That's the natural way of being.
yeah. It was just totally fun. So
I love that.
my
It was
car, my
totally
car
fun.
looks respectable again.
For $10.
For
Can't
10
beat
bucks.
that.
Yeah. And he was happy
Oh,
with it. So.
that's a great story. Okay, so I did want to say something about women who disconnect from their femininity because the softness that engenders really doesn't feel safe for them. And I'm probably speaking about myself when I talk about that. If you're someone that had to survive emotionally, financially, psychologically, there are parts of you that probably learned how to harden in this world. I mean, I think in Chris's case, I don't know how you got around that, but I definitely had that experience. I had to become really self-reliant because I was on my own most of the time. So, it kind of
I've
stopped.
always been very self-reliant.
Yeah.
Always.
And I stopped listening at some point, I think, to my body, just because I didn't have time. I had to kind of, it was on the back burner because it had to, take me where it needed to go. And I wasn't really aware that paying attention to it was an important thing to do. I was just coping.
Mhm.
And underneath all the armor, there was, this really sensitive person who wanted to be tender, wanted to have creative um, bouts in her life, wanted to be able to express the depth of the things that she felt, that kind of thing. And I don't know, reconnecting doesn't really happen through forcing yourself into some version of femininity that you've read about online. I just want to caution you that it's, something that you relax into. It happens kind of organically.
Right.
It's just you, if you are a woman, and if you're not, and you understand what femininity is, it's the same thing. It happens slowly. It's learning to feel safe enough to be open and soft. When I say soft, I mean not hard edges, not having to put up walls, not having to put up fences against people and against life. Being able to be open and receptive is really the bottom line nature of what being feminine is all about. And sometimes if you don't feel that way, if you maybe you had an experience like I did where you really had to harden and you had to be in a place of survival, getting back to that feminine posture you can make it simple is the point I'm trying to make. And some of the things that you can do to make that happen organically is to just slow down. And in that, I can think of the only thing that, Chris has taught me so much about, and that's breathing, breathing deeply, slowing down, slowing the body down, resting, not feeling guilty about having to rest, learning how to receive and how that feels in your body. One of these experiences that I was telling Chris about that I was having this weekend about some of the stuff that happened to me in my childhood, I felt like I realized for the first time how I did not feel safe in my body. You know, in the world, I did not feel safe to be who I was inside here, and so I had to kind of wall myself off
Mhm.
and watch for, incoming
It's coming in. Yeah.
onslaughts. Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
Yeah.
So listening to my body was kind of like, well, just get over it. We got to get through this.
Mhm.
So the opposite, of course, is getting back to listening to your body, paying attention to it and giving it what it needs, which is, I feel like I'm in the process of doing that, exercising more, taking care of my back, which I'm doing physical therapy with, and just giving it the time that it needs to heal
Yes.
and to,
Yeah.
get back to being happy
Yeah.
again.
Yeah. 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 I had that experience just recently with this cold that wouldn't go away. And
Yes.
I had to say, I need to just rest. I said, well, you can exercise with a cold. And I thought, no, you don't need to exercise with a cold. You,
And we really have to push ourselves not to, keep up with the schedule.
yeah, I think you have to rest to get better, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. It's really hard for us when we've been so involved our whole lives to
Right.
just not do anything.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
It's a challenge, but it is a feminine thing and it is a very healing thing to do and be able to give yourself time to be silent. I love silence, but I've been finding it hard going through this physical healing to be silent because my mind just wants to nonstop chatter. And so I got to, work with that to calm it down and then try to relax the body. And at the same time, answer that question. Oh, what is it you want? Oh, shut up. I don't fucking know what I want.
Hmm.
That's just kind of how it feels inside sometimes. And that's perfectly okay. You'll get through
Yeah.
it.
Yeah.
And if you do know what it is that you love and what, takes you to that inner place, that inner sanctum, maybe it's music,
Mhm.
maybe it's having a bath. Maybe it's just taking care of your body in a way where you get a massage or
Yeah.
you do something very healing for yourself. Those are all important to give yourself time to do. I can't even remember the last time I had a massage. Oh my gosh. That was such a good idea. Now that it came out of my mouth.
Now that you've mentioned it.
And now that's what I'm doing this weekend.
Yeah.
You did that recently. You had a
Yeah, I did.
massage.
That was my Mother's Day present.
Your Mother's Day
Yeah,
present.
and I
Yeah.
almost didn't make it because of the tire
The
on it.
tire. She blows a tire on the way to get a massage with her daughter. That's funny. Oh my God.
It
But
was
you got
fun.
there. That's the
Oh
important
yeah,
part.
but I ended up getting there. I mean, it was a lot of
She was undeterred. Oh my God, that's funny. Yes, and sometimes it means crying instead of, just jumping back into the old self. Sometimes you have a good cry and everything, the world looks completely different.
Yeah, you got to release. You got to let it
Yeah,
go.
whatever is going on inside that's blocked up,
I,
just think about it. Just think about how the world reigns when
yeah,
nature reigns. That's
yeah,
what your body's doing.
absolutely.
Your body's raining and it's
Yeah,
releasing and refreshing and
yeah,
clearing all the
right.
gunk out.
Carrying out the gunk. That's right.
Yes, and that's really what the feminine is about, clearing out the gunk,
Mm-hmm,
getting back to the beauty of relationships,
mm-hmm,
you know, and the beauty of being present in the world every moment. If
mm-hmm.
there's anything we both wish you, it's that
It's that.
the ability to be in a present moment
All,
inside of your soul,
all
expressing who you
the
are
time.
all the time. Yeah. So that's kind of a deeper invitation into this season of life for many women, like don't disappear because you're getting older. Just become more honest and more real and more embodied and more alive
Yeah. Yes.
because you have so much
Yeah.
to offer,
So
you
much.
know,
Yeah. Yeah.
so much wisdom, so much
Yeah.
experience, so much love to offer. Keep your heart open,
Mm-hmm.
you know, compassionately connect with other people,
Yeah.
make somebody's day by smiling at them. They seem like really small things, but honestly, they add up to a lifetime that is really, really powerful, you know?
Yep. It does. It does.
So there you go. Welcome home, ladies. Enjoy your lives. See you next week.
See you next week.
Take care.